lot of you guys have probably already heard on the national media at the time that I'm reporting this. Chicago area native Charlie Kirk, who was like a conservative activist, he's been shot and killed at an event in Utah. The kind of event that he would often do. He would visit colleges. He started doing this years ago when he looked like a college student himself. He would visit colleges and set up a tent and basically offer an opportunity for young college students to challenge his political views. He had very controversial political views. He was a supporter of Trump. He was a supporter of Israel. Not an unconditional supporter of Israel as far as supporting everything that the Israeli government does, but as far as Israel's right to exist, he was a supporter of that. He was very well known in conservative circles. I'm not sure how well known he was nationally at large. That's kind of hard to get a grasp of, but in conservative circles, he was a big name, and he was one of the up and comers in the conservative ranks. So he was 31 years old. And he was shot apparently at close range. They said the shooter has not been caught. There were initial reports that the shooter had been caught, but those reports were not correct. The shooter is still at large, and he was in critical condition at first, but Trump actually was, I think, the first person to report that he had passed, and he is no longer with us at the age of 31 years old, man. So condolences to his family. Rest in peace. He was a guy that I had been following for a while. I didn't agree with a lot of his views. I'm not a Trump supporter myself. I am socially conservative, but I had supported Nikki Haley. I had wanted her to be the candidate, but anybody that resorts to this, they're not achieving anything. If anything, it's the opposite, because the backlash effect is always greater than the initial act, and that's a historical pattern. Anytime anybody does something like this, it always ends up giving a boost to the side that's been targeted. I will say, though, these events that he used to do were interesting. I used to follow him in Turning Point on Instagram, and when I would see him set up these tents and debate these college students, I didn't think that was a good idea, for the simple fact he was typically older, not a lot older, older by 6-7 years than the students that he would be debating. But anytime that you're debating a younger person, especially about a topic like politics, if you're older, you're at a significant advantage. You've seen more, you just have more knowledge as far as just being alive and witnessing more history. In politics and in political debates, that's a big advantage. So to debate younger people like that, and these debates would often get heated and kind of contentious, and it was just a bad look to me. I didn't think it was an effective recruiting method, for conservative politics. I didn't think that was a good idea. He was typically pretty polite, but at the end of the day, you're still going up against. It's like playing, one-on-one an NBA player with, a high school player. It's like, well, what do you have to say when you win? That's not something to flaunt that in any way, shape, or form. And two, winning these debates, typically, I don't see it changing people's minds, especially the person who's being debated. The only thing that people are worried about is who quote unquote won, and a lot of times that's evaluated, especially by the younger generation, by just who had the more effective disses, which he didn't do. He didn't diss people, but it's whoever ends up looking more humiliated ends up being the one who's quote unquote lost, even if they made valid points. So these things are kind of totally subjective to me, and not something that I think conservative activists should do. You can see these things all over social media, the debates going on, and they're just straight up toxic. And like I said, I don't see anybody's mind being changed. If anything, it's the opposite. It just seems to cement people even harder in their views. The other reason, though, is that he's exposed, to the public. And there's a lot of people out there that would do stuff like this. You're dealing with the general population. You're dealing with random killers mixed in there. And he was so vulnerable and so easy to approach in these situations. He's from Chicago. I mean, I'm not saying he should have known, because he wasn't doing all these events in Chicago, but at the same time, people that are born and raised here, we're raised with a certain caution. We're taught a certain set of precautions that we need to take in every situation, like everybody. And, for him to put himself in that vulnerable position, I'm not saying this to blame the victim, like I've told you guys a million times. I'm saying this to warn potential future victims. If you're a high-profile person who's doing controversial stuff and there's people out there that would kill you, you're getting death threats and all that, to open yourself up to the public like that. I know politicians do it, but they got a ton of security. And even them, you saw how close Trump came. He was like literally millimeters away from death. And nobody has more security than him. So, if you're a person that's in that position, whatever, because I know I've got people on this channel that are activists, maybe not famous activists, but you're out there trying to get your message across. There's people out there that'll kill just to silence you. You know that. Whatever your message might be. If it's something about a controversial political topic, be careful, man. In this day and age, I think you can disseminate information much more effectively via social media than you can in person. Because just the sheer number of people that you reach on social media is so much greater. Now, he would often upload these and then post them to social media, but I don't know. We'll see if people keep doing this kind of thing because, in this day and age, shots are flying like anywhere this kind of thing is going on at random. And it's, just a matter of time before you encounter that one person that's willing to do it. So rest in peace to Charlie Kirk, man. And be careful, guys. These political parties, I told you guys before, a lot of people disagreed and a lot of people got mad at me when I made this video. But people in the United States and in other countries too, they treat politics like a religion. This is why I say there's no such thing as actual atheism, because even when people claim they're atheists, they put something else in the place of God, and politics is a big one. They end up making their political ideology a religion, and then they're willing to kill, not always die, but they're at least willing to kill for it. And they become effectively like gangs in a way to these political parties. And you would be hard pressed to prove me wrong. I think I got a pretty solid body of evidence to back this up. They do all the same things at the end of the day that gangs do: sell dope, steal, kill, start wars. I can't really find a street gang, honestly, in the United States that's done as much, damage as far as loss of life as the two political parties. If you guys can think of one, let me know. But honestly, they've done more gang stuff than the actual gangs. Where's the lie? So you guys let me know what you think, though, in the comment section, man. Rest in peace to Charlie Kirk, man. Prayers to him and his family. This is your boy, Shy News. I'm out.